My name is Max. I'm a senior at Stanford University where I study international relations. I'm the community manager in the loosely Slavic-themed house where I live with 49 of the coolest and weirdest people you will ever meet. I teach spin classes, I like concerts and brunch, this is my room, this is my poster of Drake, this is the futon I found in the closet downstairs, and this is my show. Opinions do not represent the official views of Stanford University or any of its associated divisions. This program is in no way sponsored or officiated by Stanford. Hello, welcome. My guest today is my dear friend Lana. Lana's one of my original friends here at Stanford, and we live together now here in Slav. We're here to talk today about being Asian at Stanford. In no means are we trying to define the Asian American experience at Stanford in entirety in any way. The Asian experience, that's not even something that you can really put together into one unit. It's a topic that we've read about and heard discussion about over our years here at Stanford, and something I think Lana brings a very unique and interesting perspective to. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
I would love for you to just tell everybody about your background, kind of where you're from, your family.
I grew up in this town called South Pasadena. My parents are Vietnamese immigrants. They both came here in 1975 at the end of the war. I guess I identify as Vietnamese American, but for a long time I never had the opportunity to kind of shape that identity or even figure it out or what it means to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one initial point in your life and in a lot of high schoolers' lives that they're forced to really grapple with that idea of identity is the college admissions process.
Yeah.
Can you describe to me what it's like entering that process, having to declare I am Asian, and what are the implications of that?
I felt, I guess throughout my entire high school career, that I had to differentiate myself from being Asian. I think there's this huge stereotype that Asian people are boring, or they're very similar, they're only into math and science, and that when an Asian person gets a 4.0 in 2400, you're supposed to assume that it's because the parents are pushing them or something like that, and not because of their own hard work or their own talent. During the college admissions process, I really had to grapple with that, and I felt that a way I had to do that was by participating in activities and things like that that were not stereotypically Asian.
This term Asian is so problematic.
It doesn't
mean anything, right? Like, Japanese people and Chinese people and Korean people, have very little in common. Obviously, people group them together because of some physical characteristics they have in common, but culturally,
there's a lot of differences, but I think that stereotypes for the most part, at least to non-Asian cultures, are just about the whole group of Asians in general. Even though I am Vietnamese and I identify as Vietnamese American, I can't necessarily divorce that identity from the stereotype of the Asian identity.
Right. Because I guess the Asian American immigrant experience across the nationalities is similar?
It's similar in some ways, but it's also very, very different, right? You can also say it's similar the same way every immigrant experience is similar, I think. The Vietnamese immigration into the U.S. in the 70s, post-Vietnam War is, I don't know, I think it's very distinct.
Once getting to Stanford, how did you deal with this call to assimilate?
There's this idea that, oh, this is my class, and then there's those Asians in the corner that hang out together, right? You see it in Mean Girls, when they categorized all the groups, they say, the Asians, the nerdy ones, and the cool ones, but, they're always only hanging out together.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't want to be part of that group that, only hangs out together, and I think I had this big prejudice and stereotype that, if I joined an Asian interest group or something like that, then I would just be considered an Asian person and not necessarily a person by my peers at Stanford who weren't Asian. A lot of it has to do with kind of a personal drive to always differentiate myself. Fighting against the stereotypes that we see on TV, the Asian girl is always supposed to be very quiet and submissive and very smart and very meek and all of that, and instead of that I pretty loud. I like to make people laugh.
I know this is quite a serious conversation we're having, but Lana makes me laugh harder than anybody in the entire world. A few times I've peed myself laughing. I can attribute to disgusting. But I can attribute to you. Far from boring. That's an antonym for describing you.
It just pervades a lot of parts of my life where I really want to differentiate myself in every way I can, and one of those ways that I happened to do that was to try to get rid of my Asianness in a theme house where the theme is Slavic themed. Very clearly I'm not Slavic, but I live in this house that's predominantly white, and also in this group Robber Baron's sketch comedy, which is also predominantly white. I've never really had to deal with being the only Asian person in the room before Stanford. Part of me feels like I have to be the representative member of my group, the one who okays certain things, the one who has to I don't know, input my perspective, like, on behalf of the entire Asian community.
I want to talk about the irony of you being like South Vietnamese and living in the Slavic house. It is kind of funny.
When I first moved in here sophomore year, there's like this huge table in the kitchen with like a giant sickle and hammer, and my parents' home country was torn apart by the communists. And so like they were not allowed to go in the kitchen. And for the People's Party, when we had to draw sickles and hammer, I refused. I stepped away and said I cannot do this on behalf of my people. Which was like kind of a theatrical thing, but also like I just felt kind of weird about it. Like if my grandpa like would see me doing that, he would probably just like cry forever, you know?
I want to talk about a topic that's pretty prevalent online in discussions about Asianness as a millennial in the United States. This stereotype of like this strong parental pressure, and there's that famous Tiger Mom book. There are a lot of deep anthropological cultural roots in those sorts of pressures. Ancient Chinese society, the importance of the exam system for small communities, and how everyone would kind of rally around the smartest members of each community to advance them in this like journey to scholarship. I think it plays out in mostly positive ways, but obviously some negative ones as well.
Like I ping pong back and forth between like how I feel about God damn it.
Why'd you have to say ping pong?
Fuck you! If I weren't Asian, would you have laughed? Probably not. It would have just been another sport metaphor to you, huh? I know, I go back and forth between how I feel about this whole like Amy Chua, like Tiger Mom, education's #1, like model minority thing, because I think it's such a complex, nuanced issue. I think it's kind of weird that like Asians have kind of come under this stereotype of being the group that is the one that seeks education and that does really well in this system, because there are other groups as well. And I also think that, I don't know, it just like puts a lot of pressure and kind of paints the Asian experience in a certain way and kind of, I don't know, shifts expectations.
How about the notion that perhaps in STEM fields there's a higher percentage of Asians, or there's greater interest in the Asian population for these kind of professions, and maybe less in the arts and humanities and the social sciences?
A lot of people want their kids to be doctors and lawyers because those are the people that are helping others, and those are the really rigorous programs, and those have measurable markers of success like income and stability and like respect in society, and that's across all sorts of different like ethnic groups. The Asian American voice in literature, for example, is like a niche in literature. I think maybe it's because like science seems like it can be like a little more objective, right? If someone does good science and makes like a revolutionary breakthrough or whatever, like you'll look at that paper and say like that paper is amazing regardless of that person's race. But like for the humanities, so much of it is steeped in like identity
and perspective,
right?
What sage words do you have for Asian American students who are grappling with similar issues of identity on campuses like this?
My quest for my identity is like a never-ending process, right? Like I'm not finished doing it. I don't have a lot of answers to these questions. My word of advice is just be like unashamedly yourself. Whatever part of Asia you come from or have roots for, like you are a dynamic person who doesn't have to fit into the stereotypes and the molds that like are kind of set out for you. I could be dynamic and be perceived as dynamic the same way that my peers are. Despite these stereotypes. Be proud of who you are and like what that means.
Lovely. Thanks for joining us. If you have anything to contribute to this conversation, please comment. As always, we want to keep this dialogue, like all other dialogues, going. Obviously, our opinions are our opinions. We want to hear your truth, your perspective, so please contribute. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Lana.
Thank you.